The anticipation is over. The Brickyard, for the first time in history, has opened its doors to a NASCAR Winston Cup stock car race, as nearly 90 drivers try to be the first to put their name on this trophy. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, welcomes you live to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Brickyard 400 qualifying. We have a cloudy day in Indianapolis. The temperature is in the mid-70s, and there is about a 60% chance of rain. Make that a 40% chance of rain. We'll lessen the chance because it did rain about 12:15 here this afternoon. In fact, it rained very hard, and it curtailed the practice session, but the track is drying. It looks like that we will be able to qualify on schedule. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. We welcome you, and what a personal thrill this is for me. I've been coming here since 1958 to cover the Indianapolis 500, and until just recently, I never thought I would see the day that stock cars would compete here in a race. But I can tell you one thing, I and millions of race fans around the country and the world are very happy that it is happening. Well, Ned Jarrett and Benny Parsons, I would imagine that you guys, until maybe a few months ago, never thought you would see this day.
Not really, especially during my racing career, Bob. I don't think we looked at this track as being one that would lend itself to stock car racing. But technology in the cars and technology in the track has changed all of that.
I tell you what, in 1968, I ran the Anderson Speedway about 40 miles up the road. I said, this is as close I'll ever get to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a quarter-mile high-bank racetrack. And what an exciting time this is to see stock cars on this great speedway.
Everybody is very excited, as we are. To appreciate how these two entities, the Speedway and NASCAR, have come to this point, it's important to trace the timeline of both to after the turn of the century. It began way back in 1909, a 2.5-mile racetrack on the northwest side of Indianapolis. Shorter races gave way to an annual 500-mile event on Memorial Day, 1911. After World War II, the facility was in deplorable condition. Grass grew through the track, and grandstands began to tumble down. But then a transformation began as new steel and glass structures replaced the wooden ones. A Terre Haute businessman, Tony Holman, was establishing it as the world's greatest race course.
And down in the southeast, the making of moonshine was being a big business. And transporting that moonshine, you needed a fast car. How fast was it? Sometimes on Sunday afternoon, they found out just whose car was the fastest.
They would take those late vintage 30 cars, were popular with the moonshiners, and ran them on the dirt tracks and eventually to the beach course at Daytona.
Until 1947, those races were unsanctioned, but then a group of men headed by Bill France got together and established the National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing.
And in 1949, they raced on the dirt and crowned their first champion, Bill Rexford.
The first super speedway race was at Darlington, South Carolina. It was won by Johnny Mance, who had competed at the Indianapolis 500 on 2 different occasions.
And as Roger Ward was winning his first Indianapolis 500, a celebration was going on in Daytona. The Daytona International Speedway was opened that year, and Richard Petty was watching his dad as he came off of turn 4, and Lee Petty would make history in winning the first ever Daytona 500.
Have there been stock cars on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Indeed, back in 1962, a group of stock car and IndyCar drivers got together for a Pontiac endurance test, which was conducted in the rain.
And the Wood brothers, renowned for their expertise in pitting the car, was asked by Ford Motor Company to come to Indianapolis and pit Jimmy Clark during the Indianapolis 500. They did it so well, he went to victory lane.
IndyCar driver Mario Andretti came south and won the Daytona 500 before he won Indianapolis. A.J. Foyt won Daytona after 3 Indy 500 victories. But then an influx of stock car drivers to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as Cale Yarborough and Leroy Yarborough came and spun together. Donnie Allison was Rookie of the Year at Indianapolis in 1970, and Bobby Allison ran for Roger Penske.
And in 1979, Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison crashed while coming for the checkered flag in the Daytona 500, allowing Richard Petty to win his 7th Daytona 500 and went on to win his 7th championship.
Indy 500 winner Johnny Rutherford was giving a lift back to the pits to Rookie of the Year Tim Richmond, the first IndyCar driver to permanently go stock car racing. Indy continued to have great finishes, with Gordon Johncock beating Rick Mears.
And President Reagan came to see Richard Petty win his 200th NASCAR Winston Cup race, and Bill Elliott set the racing world afire in 1985, winning the Winston Million and 11 Super Speedway races. Then Dale Earnhardt took over and established himself as a legend in the sport with 6 NASCAR Winston Cup championships.
More great finishes at Indianapolis. Al Unser Jr. into the wall as Emerson Fittipaldi wins. And then Rick Mears picks up win number 4 in 1991. The closest finish in history. Al Unser Jr. beats Scott Goodyear by 43 thousandths of a second. In June of 1992, a tire test was conducted at Indianapolis. Could this track accommodate the stock cars? Would this be a wave of the future? Well, the fans certainly hope so. And the drivers on the track put on a great show as they raced 3 abreast down the front stretch and into turn number 1. The official announcement came on April 4th of 1993. There would be a 400-mile NASCAR Winston Cup stock car race called the Brickyard 400. Just 2 days ago, reality set in as the Winston Cup teams were welcomed to the city of Indianapolis. From NASCAR's early years on the sand, to dirt, to asphalt, and now to bricks, NASCAR has come to Indianapolis as each driver seeks to become the first to put his name on the PPG Trophy in the inaugural Brickyard 400. It is really impossible to explain the impact that this event is going to have on the world of motorsports, on the city of Indianapolis, on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and on lots of race fans around the world. It is just, without question, possibly the motorsports event of, well, at least the last century, I think.
Well, I don't think there's any question about it, Bob, and I think this event is going to take NASCAR Winston Cup racing to another level. We've seen tremendous growth in this sport in recent years, and I think this is going to be another giant step upward.
Bill France told me just about an hour ago, 15 years from now, when we sit around the old stove and talking about things that happened in the world of auto racing, we'll always talk about the Brickyard 400.
And we are here to cover qualifications for you live both today and tomorrow. The race is on Saturday. ESPN Speed World presentation of Brickyard 400 qualifying is being brought to you by Chevrolet. One car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR. Genuine Chevrolet. And by Pennzoil, the motor oil you can rely on for performance, protection, and quality.
The car may look the best, but if it doesn't go very fast, your pipes can be loud, but you'll still come in last. You can climb on the ladder, reaching for the sky, but you can't win the race if you don't qualify. Well, you can't win the race.
Well, you can't win the race if you don't qualify, and we'll have live coverage of second day qualifying tomorrow here at the Brickyard 400 beginning at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.
It reaches far and wide.
The Brickyard 400 qualifying today will determine the fastest 20 qualifiers. They will be locked in to the top 20 starting positions on Saturday. As you can see, it remains a very cloudy day and hazy in some locations, but the rain is staying away for the moment. There was a very important happening earlier today as the drivers and crews lined up to draw for qualifying order. Here's how it went.
Get it right. Here we go.
That's Morris Metcalf
Okay.
and Richard Childress drawing for Dale Earnhardt.
Car number 3, 13.
He's looking for one of them stripes.
32. Car 28. Number 7. Try it again, Bill. That's it. Whatever it is, you go out 84th. Woo! 84th. Sometime tomorrow, right?
As you can see, several cars have already passed inspection and are lined up for qualification. Here is the order in which they will go out. And normally, it would be more important than perhaps it is today because of weather. It's cloudy and it isn't going to be quite as bad. But nevertheless, it is important because we do stand the chance of rain later this afternoon that could end the session and carry it over until tomorrow.
And, of course, cold temperatures tomorrow morning could be helpful to those that qualify then. You know, weather is always a concern during qualifying, but with the number of cars that we have here, it is even more of a concern than we've ever seen before at another track because the track conditions are going to change from when they start until they finish.
If it'll just stay overcast like this, it will stay pretty consistent. If that sun comes out, Richard Petty with that number 84, a huge advantage for his driver, Wally Dallenbach.
They had about 85 entries for this race, and of course everybody wants to be the pole sitter to pick up the money that goes along with it and the upfront starting position for a chance to put his name on the PPG trophy as the winner of the Brickyard 400 come this Saturday.
And Bob, you talk about the money that's involved with the pole sitter here. How about a $50,000 bonus and then a $10,000 cash for the owner, and there's just, it all amounts to about $100,000 when you add it all up.
And that's more than you make winning the race at some locations.
Yeah.
Well, Gary Gerald is working down in the pit area for us. Gary, what are the track conditions like right now?
Well, Bob, it's a waiting game for everybody down here, but the word is very, very encouraging, and I think you can almost see it for yourself. As you look down here, we're adjacent to the front straightaway. You can see the gray area. That's what's already dried. There is a strip down here close to the inside wall, and there are a couple little spots of casual water, but they've got the jet dryers growing, and this is not a major concern. The groove right now is dry, and so it looks like we're going to be on schedule for a 3 o'clock qualifying start. Now, we were talking about track temperatures and their importance. Here's one of these amazing guns that we hold out here and will tell us the track temperature. Folks at Goodyear providing this for us, and you can see right now 86 degrees here on the front straightaway. Compare that to earlier today, prior to the rain, when it was about 100 degrees. Compare that to the month of May when the Indy cars were here, when we saw temperatures on the track as high as 120. Now, over here on pit road, the qualifying line is forming. Dale Earnhardt is scheduled to go out 13th. Here's his car. You can see there's a lot of moisture yet on pit road. That should not be a problem. But cooler track temperatures, down from what we saw already earlier today, should be favorable for qualifying. Now, for more on this intriguing tire story that surrounds this first inaugural event here, let's go back further into the pits to Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Gary. You know, for Tiny Hoosier Tire Company, it's not the Brickyard 400, it's actually the Backyard 400, because this company, located in Lakeville, Indiana, is about 120 miles that way, due north. That's where Hoosier Tire Company exists. That's their main headquarters. And for a race to come to Hoosier land, come to Indiana, it's a matter of pride. Now, we're talking about a David and Goliath story. They began the season very, very slowly with problems at Daytona. But now, 5 poles, and an all-important 1 victory coming at Pocono on a flat racetrack with long straightaways. Sound familiar? Well, that racetrack, a lot like Indianapolis. In fact, that tire was developed right here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But today, Hoosier has brought the same left-side Pocono tire. They have a different right-side tire, a little bit harder. They figure they are going to be a factor in qualifying. And so do about half the field. In fact, 43 of the 85 cars who have signed in have mounted up the Hoosier tires. But what about Goliath? What about the big guy, the defending heavyweight champion, Goodyear? For the past 20 years, they have been on the cars that have won the Indianapolis 500. Behind me, the Goodyear compound, half the field on Goodyear's. It's a very, very even swap right now as to which tire will claim the front row in qualifying. Bob?
One of the stories that will be played out here in the next couple of days before the race itself. Well, if you aren't among the fastest 40 qualifiers, you can still get into the field. The 41st and 42nd starting positions are available to the top 35 car owners in current NASCAR Winston Cup points that did not get in on speed. The 43rd starting position is available to a top 10 car owner in the current Winston West point standings. And then the 44th and final starting spot will go to the most recent NASCAR Winston Cup champion driver who did not qualify for a top 40 starting position, if there is one. And the order is Earnhardt, Wallace, Elliott, Waltrip, and Terry Labonte. Now, if the top 35 in Winston Cup points all qualify in the top 40, the remaining provisionals go to the NASCAR Winston West Series. Well, they have come from all walks of auto racing to try to make this field. Indianapolis, IMSA. Here is John Kernan.
Bob, I have to be with probably the favorite to spoil the NASCAR party. Jeff Brabham, IMSA star, 4-time GTP champion, was the 26th fastest today. Now, that's fastest of the non-NASCAR regulars, Jeff, but you got a little edge there. You have Tim Brewer helping you out. Can you repeat that lap in qualifying?
Well, we certainly hope so. You know, we're going to try and go a little bit better because 1 mile an hour, one way or the other, is going to make a big difference. But, you know, the Kmart Thunderbird's a real good race car, and Tim Brewer's a lot of experience in NASCAR racing. He's been a tremendous help to me.
Road racing background. You also, in your rookie season here in the Indy 500 back 13 years ago, finished 5th, a very good run there. And you've had 6 second-place finishes in driving in Indy in the mid-'80s. The road racing in IMSA, but now you're in a 3,500-pound stock car for the first time. What's the biggest difference here at this speedway?
Well, I think the biggest difference, obviously, is just the weight and the lack of downforce. But, you know, these cars I found really challenging to drive. There's been a lot of fun, and they're very, very sensitive, particularly to changes. So, you know, it's been a real challenge, and as I say, you really need a good team to come in, particularly if you're a rookie like I am. And fortunately, I'm very appreciative to Michael Kranovus and Carl Haas and Kmart and Tim Brewer and all those guys for giving me a great race car.
Now, your experience at Indy, can you bring anything and apply it here to the stock cars?
Well, unfortunately, the only advantage I probably have over the NASCAR guys is I know where the concession stands are in the restrooms. You know, apart from that, it's it's the race car that dictates, not the racetrack. So, and we're a little bit of a disadvantage here.
Well, I wouldn't say it's too big of a disadvantage, Bob. They qualify in the 73rd position. That means it should be pretty cool. So Jeff Brabham could have a good shot at making first-round qualifying.
One of the non-regular NASCAR Winston Cup drivers coming here to try to make this historic event, the Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, moments away from the start of qualifying for the Brickyard 400. Well, to win the race, you have to qualify. To qualify, you have to pass inspection. NASCAR's technical inspection. John Kernan has more.
Before the cars ever take the track, NASCAR painstakingly inspects each one, making sure each of nearly 50 different areas of the car meet NASCAR specs. It's a process that takes nearly 15 minutes per car. So with some 90 cars entered here at the Brickyard, Gary Nelson has added inspectors to help speed up the process.
I've got inspectors that work with us when we're in the Northeast, got inspectors that work with us when we're on the West Coast, and in the South, well, I brought them all together here. So the big difference you'll see is a lot more inspectors working the garage area, but our rules are enforced identical to where they would be at any other weekly event.
NASCAR officials pay particular attention to certain areas of the car at different tracks. Areas that, if the rules are bent too much, can give that car an edge over the competition.
We have meetings twice a day with all of our officials and inspectors, and we tell them the things that would be typical for a flatter, big track like this one. When we're at, say, Talladega, we're looking for different things on the car. So we kind of single out areas that might improve a car here. Brakes, maybe differences in the engines.
Not only are they inspected before they hit the track for practice, but also before qualifying, as you're seeing right now, as Rick Mast Ford is going through inspection, but also before the race. They get one of these little stickers on the windshield. They'll put marks on it to signify that they have successfully completed the inspection. So this is what everybody down here in the garage area is very interested in getting. Let's go out to pit road and Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, John, once they put those stickers on the windshield, the crews cannot touch the cars with a few exceptions. Here's Dale Earnhardt's car waiting to go out in 13th spot. They can add or remove tape on the front grille section. You see Earnhardt's grille completely taped off. He will have tremendous downforce on the front of the car as it goes into turn one. They can adjust the air pressure. They can change the pressure in the tire. In fact, they can even change the tire, which is happening about 20 feet in front of me right now. Danny Sullivan changing a tire on the car number 99. It was going flat as he gets ready to qualify. The third thing they can do, they can push the spoiler up or down. There is no minimum spoiler requirement here. They can adjust the spoiler. That's the only three things they can do. They have an oil temperature heater here for the car to keep the oil about 280 degrees. Not much else to do here. Once they go through inspection, they have to keep hands off. It's all up to the driver. Let's go down the pit road to Gary Jarrell.
car setting all by itself belongs to Rusty Wallace. The crew has made all of those very important changes that Jerry was talking about. The generator working at the rear, keeping that oil temperature up. Keep in mind a very important fact here. Unlike Indianapolis, when you get 4 laps, 10 miles for a qualifying average, and you get 3 possible attempts per car, here it's 1 warm-up lap, it's 1 lap on the green, and that's it, baby. You've got to have it to the floor, and you've got to make that 1 lap the very best you can muster. And with this field of 85 cars, a lot of pressure, a lot of tension, Bob.
And our first qualifier, scheduled to be H.B. Bailey, is scheduled to go out in about 5 minutes from right now as the drivers gather around to talk about it. Tomorrow night, live from Indianapolis Raceway Park here on ESPN, the Busch Grand National Kroger 200. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, qualifying just moments away. Well, 2 radically different types of cars now are competing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Indy car and the NASCAR Winston Cup car. Derek Daly compares the 2.
Bob, how do you compare an apple to an orange? Well, they're both round, but they're different in every way. How do you compare an Indy car to a stock car? Well, they're both racing cars. They have 4 wheels and tires, but otherwise they're different in every single way. Stock cars and Indy cars are built for totally different disciplines, but they are very highly specialized in their own particular fields. Just consider the driving position. In the stock car, drivers fairly high up and can see over most of the safety barriers now used on racetracks. Move to the Indy car. Now the driver is much lower to the ground and in fact cannot see over most of the concrete safety barriers now used in racing.
When looking at the IndyCar front wings, you'll see they are designed to manage and help accelerate the air under the car to create overall downforce. On the stock car, on the other hand, the front spoiler is designed to stop the airflow under the car and therefore stop some of the lift. When looking at the rear wings of the IndyCar, you can see they're designed in a wind tunnel and measured in half-degree increments. Move to the stock car and you see it's simply an extension of the body profile. Adjustments here in the heat of battle, very often made with a big old hammer. The IndyCar front suspension is lightweight, made of mild steel, and aerodynamically shaped. The stock car is strong, robust, but most of all, just functional. When you look at packaging these components, the IndyCar and stock car are indeed very different. IndyCar has the engine, gearbox, suspension, and shock absorbers all interconnected, whereas the stock car is much more conventional in its layout and actually has more room in the engine bay than you have in your own passenger car. Let's look at a few direct comparisons. The IndyCar straight line speed is about 235 miles an hour, with a low speed at the apex of about 227. This generates 3.5 Gs in the corner. Go to the stock car, 190 miles an hour down the straight, a low speed at the apex of about 155 miles an hour, and generates 1.8 Gs of loading. Now, the reason for these performances? Well, at 200 miles an hour, the IndyCar generates about 3,000 pounds worth of downforce. The stock car at the same speed generates only 300 pounds worth of downforce. From a performance point of view, this area here of the racetrack plays a major key. Now, a good Indy car comes through here at 235 miles an hour, and it tries to gain as much speed as it can on the run to the apex. Now, a stock car at about 195 miles an hour jumps on the brakes right here, tries to lose as much speed as necessary just to make it around that apex in turn 1. For qualifying at the Brickyard, you need to get the maximum from yourself, your car, and the racetrack. An IndyCar's downforce allows it to blast through turns 1 and 2, trying to increase its momentum, whereas a stock car has to balance itself on a knife edge, protected by very little downforce. Down the long straights and carry as much speed as possible through turns 2 and 4 in particular. This determines your straight line speeds, and they better be high, because you may only get one shot at being part of the Brickyard history. Now, a stock car may be a little bit slower, but who could ever argue that day in, day out, 5, 10, or 15 cars in a bunch trying to get to the checkered flag first is not the most exciting and most entertaining form of motorsports in the world today.
Back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, first car waiting to qualify, veteran Texan driver H.B. Bailey. He'll be the first car to move on the track momentarily. You can't argue with what Derek Daly said a moment ago. certainly a lot of technology in IndyCar racing, but likewise in stock car racing. Let me show you. Who knows more about the Brickyard than Roger Penske? This is Rusty Wallace, the Penske South Ford beside me. Now, you can make subtle adjustments on the car for qualifying or for the race, but not quite as subtle as you see in an Indy car. I told you a moment ago you can adjust by taking tape off the front of the car, altering the downforce, but you can also change the fender flare. Take a look here. The front fender flare, maximum width is 76 inches. You taper it in as H.B. Bailey moves onto the track, and you will hear this crowd roar as they watch his qualifying efforts. You taper the fender flare in, you get more straightaway speed, but you lose downforce. The other thing you can change, of course, the spoiler. Rusty will qualify with a 65-degree rear spoiler. Now, Rusty told me for every quarter of an inch of vertical height you lose on this 6.5-inch blade, you gain 0.2 of a second on a 2.5-mile superspeedway. And folks, you lay it back, you get faster, but it's going to be wild going into turn 1. Bob?
All right, thank you, Jerry. The answer to the trivia question that will be asked many years in advance, who was the first to attempt a qualification for the Brickyard 400? The answer, H.B. Bailey. Here he is moving through turn number 3 onto the short chute at the north end of the racetrack, and now bringing the car into turn number 4. He'll get the green flag this time around, and the qualification run will be underway. We might tell you that in practice this morning, the fastest speed turned in was by Jeff Gordon at 170.626 miles an hour. There's the green flag. We are qualifying at Indianapolis, H.B. Bailey.
I think it's great that someone like H.B. Bailey is the first guy to go around this racetrack. He's been at this sport for so long, goes to the Darlington for the Southern 500 every year. He's in the record club down in Darlington.
Benny, he ran his first race back in 1954 down in the state of Texas.
I think it's great. H.B. Bailey, horsepower.
He has no starts here in 1994. He is 57 years of age and resides in Houston. H.B. at the north end of the racetrack once again. Only 1 lap of qualifying here. You don't get 2 laps. So we'll see what H.B. can turn in here. He has been among those that have practiced here and tested at this speedway in the last month or so. Down the front straightaway, the checkered flag waves, and H.B. becomes the first qualifier for the Brickyard 400. Let's see what kind of a time and speed he turns in on his qualification run. Well, the indication is he ran a 172.348, but somehow I don't think that is correct, or is it?
Well, I don't know, Bob. My stopwatch was different from that, but I could have goofed up somewhere along the way. They're showing 52.220 in seconds. That is a very good time, if indeed that's the case, but...
Well, here we go. This looks better.
Okay.
152.669. A time of 58.95 seconds. That's the time and speed report on H.B. Bailey. Here again is John Kernan.
Bob, while they're going over 150 miles, up to 170 miles an hour fast on the racetrack here in the garage area to the snail's crawl. In fact, it's almost like being at the bank at the drive-thru on Friday afternoon. I've counted just about 20 behind me. These are the cars that are all waiting to go through inspection, as Derek is the second car to attempt to qualify, Bob.
And he's on the run already. Derek, of course, took over this car a couple of races ago.
This is the T.W. Taylor car out of Chester, Virginia, and he comes up close to that outside retaining wall. Between 1 and 2, there he comes off the second corner.
We might mention that 3 drivers did crash in the practice this morning. Dale Jarrett, Tim Steele, and Joe Nemechek all had encounters with the wall.
But of those 3, Dale Jarrett was the only one to use his car. He just brushed the wall a little bit, didn't really do any damage to the chassis of the car, so they continued on with the same car. He's scheduled to go out here pretty shortly.
But Steele and Nemechek severely damaged their cars. No injuries in any of those crashes, but within the first 20 minutes of practice, we did have 3 cars that had tasted the concrete here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Checkered flag drops, and Derek Cope becomes our second qualifier of the day.
Well, I've clocked him at a 53.41, but we'll see how that stacks up to what NASCAR says, because that's the official time. They have the electronic equipment.
Cope on the cool-down lap down the back stretch. Let's go down to Gary Gerald, who's with Kenny Schrader, who won a race last night here in Indianapolis. Gary?
Bob, indeed he did. He won on the dirt at the fairgrounds. Congratulations on the victory last night. But I know right now all the focus is on this 2.5 miles. The fact that you get just one lap, is that added pressure?
Well, I tell you what, I like it. You know, I get thinking about it. I do one lap and I'll get it done. If 2 laps, I'll probably mess up, but I'm just happy to be here today.
We heard that possible 172 speed on H.B. Bailey, and your heart kind of went right up in your throat.
Yeah, but, you know, I thought there might be something wrong there, and they announced that I felt a lot better.
All right, we wish you well, and enjoy this memorable first time.
It's quite a day.
All right, Kenny. Bob?
Kenny Schrader will be up to qualify later this afternoon.
Scott Gaylord in the 00 car on the racetrack making his qualifying attempt.
Derek Cope had a 53.370 second, 168.634. 168.634, so he is the fastest of the 2 qualifiers that we have had. Scott Gaylord from Lakewood, Colorado.
A 53.37 by Derek Cope. Down in the garage area, Bob, they were talking about taking a lap of about 52 seconds flat to win the pole position here for the Brickyard 400.
I think the fastest lap that was turned, of course that was unofficial certainly, was Bill Elliott in the test that went on here for the last several weeks, and he turned a 52.18. So normally they will run a little bit faster in qualifying trim, so Benny, I'd say that it might get 51-second bracket if it stays overcast.
If the weather stays the way it is, because it is extremely cool right now.
We have our first NASCAR Winston West competitor who has qualified for the Brickyard 400, Scott Gaylord. Scott runs a 55.458 second lap. That relates to a speed of 162.285. So our 3 qualifiers, Derek Cope, Scott Gaylord, and H.B. Bailey, with Cope the fastest right now at 168.634.
Of course, the next car scheduled to go out would be Robert Presley, and here he comes off of turn 4, ready to take the green flag.
With this many cars attempting to qualify here, they are running them very quickly, as one car will go onto the track before the other one actually finishes the run, but they're well separated. Robert Presley from Asheville, North Carolina, on the racetrack in the Mannheim Auction Chevrolet.
Is this Leo Jackson's car, Ned?
I think it is, yes.
Robert Presley is going to drive for Leo Jackson next year. He's going to take over the car 33 that Harry Gant is running in 1994. Harry, as most everyone realizes, will retire at the end of this year.
Yes, it indeed is a Leo Jackson car. The Mannheim Auto Auction sponsorship.
Robert's best qualifying effort this year was at the Daytona 500, where he qualified in 19th position. Presley takes the checkered flag and becomes our 4th qualifier of the day. And it looks like the next driver to attempt qualification, or at least the next to pull onto the racetrack, is Danny Sullivan in car number 99. Remember his spin and win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Well, he's abandoned IndyCar racing for the moment, concentrating on the stock cars. And recently, the car that he is driving here this weekend was unveiled, the corporate car of Indianapolis. Danny Sullivan, former winner of the Indy 500. And Robert Presley turns in a 54.224, 165.978. So he is second quickest at the moment.
Well, one thing about it, Ned, this guy certainly knows his way around the racetrack.
Yes, he's driven enough laps here. He knows that. But as Jeff Brabham said, that the feel of the car is going to be so different. I don't know how much of a help it is to have that experience. It has to be some help, though, I would think. And here he comes for the green flag, and I understand this is a former Morgan McClure car.
Goes down the corner. Underneath that white line next to the grass, folks, is they call it a rumble strip. That's to keep those Indy cars off the grass, but you can see these stock cars are just wading right through that rumble strip like it isn't even there, is what I'm trying to say.
Didn't seem to upset him.
No, it doesn't.
Now, I heard Dale Jarrett say last night that the rumble strips may affect the Indy cars, but the stock cars drive right over them.
They've all said this is one of the smoothest surfaces that they have raced on.
Off of corner number 4, here comes Danny Sullivan, originally from Louisville, Kentucky, now making his home in Aspen, Colorado. 44 years of age, the checkered flag waves, and he has qualified for the Brickyard 400.
I believe he's going to come in there in about second place. We'll get the official ruling in a moment.
Derek Cope is fastest at 168.634. We're waiting to see what effort Danny Sullivan turned in. And you're right, Ned, it is the second fastest of the day, 167.358. That's 53.777 seconds. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and first round qualifying for the Brickyard 400. While we were away, Mike Chase, the Winston West points leader, qualified at 159.864, 56.298 seconds. Mike has a guaranteed spot in the field, a provisional from the Winston West division, since he is the points leader in that series. On the racetrack right now is Dale Jarrett from Newton, North Carolina, in the Interstate Battery Chevrolet. And Ned, this has got to be somewhat of a thrill here, seeing your son qualify for this event.
Well, it really is, because as I said earlier, didn't ever expect to see the stock cars here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and certainly knew that I would never get an opportunity, so it is great to see Dale get that opportunity to qualify here.
There's A.J. Foyt, Roger Penske, Rusty Wallace.
There's a motley crew, huh?
I'm telling you.
Oh, Dale, right up against the wall there at the south end of the racetrack between turns 1 and 2.
It's like his car's pushing in that corner, Ned. He's trying to get up against that wall so he can make that corner as round as he possibly can.
Yeah, he was having trouble with the car pushing this morning. In fact, that's the reason he got in the wall. He was pushing considerably more than he needed for it to. Whoops, slipped a little bit there.
Yep, he sure did. And again, right up against the wall at the north end, there's Jimmy Makar looking on, his crew chief. Dale's about to complete the lap, though. The 1993 Daytona 500 winner takes the checkered flag.
I think it's going to be the fastest of the day, but not what he had hoped to get, I don't believe.
168.634 is the speed to shoot for to take the provisional pole position. Let's see if Dale Jarrett, and yes, he did, 169.661, and for the moment, Dale Jarrett is on the pole for the Brickyard 400. Now going on to the racetrack, the driver that Gary talked with just a few moments ago, Ken Schrader. Kenny certainly is familiar to the local fans because he grew up on the short tracks of the central Indiana area, driving for the United States Auto Club, but he too made the transition to stock cars a few years ago. But he still remains one of the most versatile race drivers in all of motorsports. As I indicated last night, he drove in the ARCA race on the mile dirt at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and he won it. And I believe he drove in a race the night before. And now here he is on the 2.5 miles of Indianapolis, getting into the Brickyard 400.
Very versatile race driver. He loves to race, and he'll drive anything, anywhere.
There he takes the green flag. I tell you what, growing up in open wheel racing, this must be a huge thrill because he never dreamed that he'd ever get to run this racetrack.
Well, that's right, and Jeff Gordon is going to be another one who is in that same category, since he lived here for many years and cut his racing teeth on some of the dirt tracks and the short tracks of central Indiana, gaining experience that has allowed him to be a star in NASCAR Winston Cup competition.
I would say that Ken Schrader is going to give us a number, a qualifying.
And there was some smoke coming from the headers of that car down the backstretch.
And he's off the pace.
Sure, yeah.
He's off the pace. Schrader blew.
He's off the pace, slowing down, entering the warm-up lane at the north end of the racetrack in turn number 4. And so Ken Schrader's qualification attempt will go by the wayside, and he will have to be a second-day qualifier.
Oh,
and that is very, very disappointing. Jerry Punch is with Dale Jarrett, the pole sitter for the moment.
Well, Dale, you're the pole sitter thus far for the inaugural Brickyard 400. You get out of the car with a big smile, but shaking your head. Was the car a little bit of a handful out there?
Yeah, we've been fighting push here the whole time, and we made some changes, and they were serious changes. I was really loose. Just about spun out in the second turn going out of the pits when the tires were new, but I was loose all the way through, and that's certainly the faster way around, but a little breathtaking, too.
Well, you're up top right now. This morning, a little bit of a close call in turn 3 in the early laps.
Yeah, just not paying attention good. The car was pushing and just scraped the wall coming out of turn 3 there, but didn't do any damage, so hopefully that'll be mine for the weekend.
Dale Jarrett thus far on the pole in qualifying as Kenny Schrader takes the car rolling past us back to the garage area.
And Ed, we said that that Dale was pushing. In fact, he was chasing the thing up the racetrack.
That's right.
Let's see Ken Schrader. There we see that thing come out the exhaust pipe.
Yep. That was as he went down the backstretch, so he was at maximum speed there. And from that point, he got on the brakes and brought it in, and his qualification attempt here on first day goes by the wayside, and he'll have to qualify tomorrow. Here is Brett Bodine in the Quaker State Ford. There is Brett. Car owner, of course, is Kenny Bernstein, the famous drag racer, whose Indy car won the Michigan 500 last week. And Kenny and Brett both hoping they can turn in an outstanding performance here in the inaugural Brickyard 400.
So Bernstein, his car has won the pole for the Indianapolis 500, didn't it, Bob?
Yeah, Roberto Guerrero put it on the pole a couple of years ago.
There's Donnie Richardson watching the crew chief on the 26 Quaker State car, watching as Brett comes down to take the green flag.
Brett has a total of 5 pole positions in his career. This year, his best qualifying effort was at North Wilkesboro, where he was on the outside of the front row. There's the green flag, and Brett Bodine is on his 2.5-mile journey.
I didn't hear how Brett was running in practice this morning. He had run well in the test here. Practice session was cut short by the rain that Bob mentioned at the top of the show, and boy, did it rain. I got caught out in it, too. Got drowned.
I tell you, we haven't seen a rain like that at Indianapolis all summer that I can remember. It poured twice. It rained for about 15 minutes, it stopped for about 10 minutes, and then it rained hard for another 15 minutes, and Ned got caught in the second one, right?
Well, no, I got caught in the first one. I was smart enough in that second one that I didn't get rained on.
So you do have enough sense to get in out of the rain.
Yeah.
It hasn't been announced that Brett Bodine is looking for a ride next year?
Yeah, I think it basically has. Brett will not be back with Kenny Bernstein next year.
There's your fastest time of the day.
169.661 is the time to beat. That was turned in by Dale Jarrett. But Brett Bodine has been the first to crack the 170 barrier, and Brett Bodine moves to the pole position for the moment. 52.915, a speed of 170.084, and so Brett Bodine goes down in history as the first to crack the 170-mile-an-hour barrier in a stock car at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as Dale Earnhardt sits in his GM Goodwrench Chevrolet about to pull on to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and attempt to qualify for the Brickyard 400. Our pole sitter for the moment is Brett Bodine. Here's Dr. Punch.
Brett, 170.084, and that brings a big smile. Congratulations.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jerry, this guy did a great job with his Quaker State Ford. We weren't anywhere close to that in practice, and I made my mind up I was going to lay it on the line. I mean, this is the biggest race I've ever been to, so I might as well go for it, and I think that'll get us in the field okay, and I'm real proud of the guys. We didn't come here and test. Practice got rained today, and we got an hour and a half to catch up to people that had run here for 3 and 4 days, and I just can't say enough how proud I am of the guys. They never gave up today. We weren't fast at all. We were slow, and we just kept digging and digging and digging, and the motor guys, Larry, Donnie, and Richard, all the guys just did a great job.
Been a struggle for Brett Bodine, and you've already noted that you're not going to be back with Kenny Bernstein next year, but what a way to end a relationship with something like this on an up note.
Well, you know, I just real proud of the relationship we had, and it's just time to part ways. I got some things going myself towards maybe my own team, talking to some other car owners. It was just a time in all our careers to make a change and just step out and go do something else. But, you know, we'd like to win the Brickyard, and that's not going to be a pole speed, but it's going to get us in the race real solid.
Guys, what a going-away present for this team and team owner.
Brett Bodine on the pole for the moment. Herschel McGriff has qualified. Dave Marcus is the car on the track at the moment. The number 71 machine. Herschel McGriff, the 66-year-old Winston West driver, qualified at 157.456. Here is Dave Marcus in new colors, taking the checkered flag and completing his run.
And a brand new automobile, the Chip Lane chassis on that car. Dave has a pretty good run there. That's going to fit him right up there and somewhere about third or something. We'll see, second or third.
There it is, 169 miles an hour. Look at Kenny Schrader's car.
Uh-oh. Man.
Big trouble for Kenny Schrader came on his qualification lap. Dale Earnhardt is on the racetrack, and the six-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion is shooting for number 7 in 1994. He's had some ups and downs this season. The car into the wall on occasion this year. However, he's also been in victory lane, and he hopes he can be in victory lane on Saturday afternoon for the inaugural Brickyard 400. Dale Earnhardt is on the way. And there are lots of Dale Earnhardt fans here. He passes by in turn number 4 and comes on the straightaway to take the green flag.
Right now, Dave Marcus is in third spot. It's Brett Bodine, Dale Jarrett, Dave Marcus, and Derek Cope, the sophomore qualifiers, as we watch Earnhardt go down in turn 1.
170.084 is the pole speed that they're shooting for. Now, the yellow speeds indicate the trap speeds turned in by the pole sitter, and the white speeds that pop up will tell you how that particular car on the track is doing compared with the pole sitter. He's been faster all the way around, Ned.
Yes, he has at every point, and a good bit faster going into turn 1, but a mile an hour faster at all the other points. So Earnhardt looks like he's on the way to perhaps having fast time of the day.
Theoretically, this should be the pole sitter for the moment. Dale Earnhardt takes the checkered flag. He's completed the run. Let's see if he has knocked Brett Bodine from the pole position. He did it, 171.726, a 52.409, and Earnhardt is on the pole.
The fans like it.
The fans love it. So we have a new pole sitter as Rick Mast comes out of turn number 2 down the backstretch. He's been very fast. In fact, he was the second fastest in the morning practice at 170.361. There's Rick Mast, who has also had his problems during the season this year. Rick continues to look for his first NASCAR Winston Cup victory.
Here he comes off turn 4, takes the green flag.
He's one of the drivers running Hoosier tires, and he has had some fast practice laps here today.
So we have seen 2 drivers qualify above 170 miles an hour. Graham Hill was the first to qualify at better than 170 in an IndyCar back in 1968. Look at this time in the short chute in the south end of the racetrack. He was 4 miles an hour faster than Dale Earnhardt, and he's 2 miles an hour faster coming out of 2 at the end of the backstretch. Little slower. Let's see how his trap speed is in the north chute. 163 for Earnhardt, 165 for Mast. Here he comes.
going to be close.
Hustling to that checkered flag. Mast completes the run. He's 2 miles an hour quicker in turn 4.
I think you beat him, Bob. We'll see when the official time comes up.
Yes, he did. 172.414, a 52.200 second lap. Jerry Punch is with Dale Earnhardt.
Bill, a big smile, a great run for you, but that run didn't last very long. Rick Mast just beat you.
I didn't think it would. You know, as time goes on here, it's going to get better. It's going to get cooler. But, you know, luck of the draw. But Rick's been running good in practice. We've been a little bit off of him. So we ran about what we did testing, though. So we're ready to race.
Car comfortable to you?
Yeah, very comfortable.
Big smile from Dale Earnhardt. He knows he's race ready. He may not be on the front row or even the pole, but come Saturday, watch this guy when he drops the green. Bob?
You can say that again. Earnhardt always comes to race. At the moment, Rick Mast is on the pole for the inaugural Brickyard 400. We'll be right back. Welcome back to qualifying for the Brickyard 400, and our Suzuki Motorcycles top qualifiers indicates that Rick Mast in a Ford is the pole sitter at the moment. Dale Earnhardt in a Chevy is second. Brett Bodine's Ford in third, and Dale Jarrett has the 4th quickest time of the day. Here's Gary Gerald.
Bob, down here at the head of the qualifying line, it's interesting. We've been using this temperature reading device here on pit road, and track temperatures right now about 10 degrees higher than they were when we made that initial report at the start of qualifying. Temperatures are now in the 94, 95 degree range. Generally, as the track temperature goes up, speeds come down. You heard Earnhardt say he thinks, however, that there's still going to be more cooling, and those later on are going to have an advantage, and we'll see speeds continue to go up. Rusty Wallace ponders those things. He'll be the next car to go out on the track after the current run.
Yeah, this is just about the heat of the day here in Indianapolis. Now, in the next hour or so, the sun is going to be positioned behind the main grandstands here on the main straightaway, and the shadows will come across the track, cooling it, and so probably we'll see some higher speeds at that time.
Loy Allen completes his qualifying run.
Randy LaJoy has qualified at 167.233, 53.817 seconds.
And that puts LaJoy in the 8th spot, and there we see Loy Allen, 54.022.
And Rusty Wallace now moves on to the racetrack in the Miller Genuine Draft Ford. Rusty Wallace, former NASCAR Winston Cup champion. The crew has been behind him all year, getting him in and out of the pits quickly, and he has done the job on the racetrack. And certainly his car owner, Roger Penske, hopes that he can pull off the Indianapolis double. He won the Indianapolis 500 this year with Al Unser Jr. in the cockpit, and now he brings his NASCAR Winston Cup stock car team to the famous Brickyard to try to win the inaugural Brickyard 400 with Rusty Wallace.
That speed for Loy Allen was 166.599 miles per hour. As Roger Penske watches Rusty Wallace come down that front straightaway.
Here he is, taking the green flag and beginning the qualification run. He has won the pole at Pocono and at Martinsville so far this year.
He got awfully close to that wall, too. Looked like he bobbled a little bit when he came back down, but now he's everything under control.
Let's see how they compare to the run turned in by Rick Mast. They're considerably slower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like 4 or 5 miles an hour slower.
Let's see how he goes. The same speed down the straightaway, but he really is hurting through the corners, as Ned Jarrett pointed out. They're 6 miles an hour slower in the middle of the corner, Ned.
Yeah, and that's really going to hurt his overall lap speed. He comes down now for the checkered flag.
It's interesting to know where the fastest part of the racetrack is for these guys. It's at the end of the front straightaway as opposed to the end of the back straightaway.
And that is strange because the wind, if anything, well, I guess there's a little bit of a tailwind.
169.683. Roger Penske has to be very disappointed in that run.
Roger, 169.683. Your reaction to that run?
Well, I think it's a good run. Obviously, it's not as quick as Rick Mast has gone, but, you know, we got to be in this race. It's good to get qualified now so we can start running a race setup tomorrow. But always like to be on the pole, but again, great run for Rusty, and we're in the show.
Apprehensions any different from the month of May that you're so used to here with your race teams?
Well, I think that during the month of May, you got a lot more time to practice, so you have an idea of what the car wants. We ran 20 laps this morning. It'd be tough if you had to start Indy in the 500 with only 20 laps before you qualified, but I think it's great to have the NASCAR cars here. I'm just glad to be part of it, and I take my hat off to Tony George.
Thanks, Roger. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, I'm standing with a man who has waited patiently and now broadens that smile. Rick Mast, has been a long wait, but congratulations. Thus far, you're on the pole.
Yeah, it's it's a guessing game day, Jerry. You know that we started out practicing at 9:30. We practiced, I think, for 3 hours. The track changed, I know, 360 degrees twice. You know, this thing, I don't believe ever had this much rubber on it, and the track was tight, and then it was loose, and it got tight, got loose, and then it rained. You know what I mean? So it washed a lot of the rubber off. So none of us really knew exactly what to do. It's just a guessing game, and you know, it's a good lap for us. We'd hope to run a little quicker, but at least that should get me in the front, somewhere in the front starting grid anyhow.
You were 2 miles an hour faster than Earnhardt through the traps. I mean, a lot faster than Earnhardt's Chevrolet.
We ran, we were here last week for 3 days testing. AJ was here with me one day, helped me a good bit, and the biggest thing was just here getting track time and working with the car. This is a brand new car. The guys took some ideas we had from a couple other cars, and put on this car. And the guys worked night and day getting this baby ready to run here. And, so far it's running real good. We got Saturday. That's the big deal, man. This pays $50 to win today, but it's $500 for Saturday. That's what I'm after.
Definitely, he's after the big money on Saturday. Let's check in with John Kernan, who's with the driver who's still waiting to make his run. John?
Well, Jerry, we can feel it's getting very warm down here in the garage area. As Gary said, it's already 10 degrees hotter out on the racetrack, but that's probably not Wally Dallenbach Jr.'s concern. He drew the 84th qualifying spot. Now, you were 20th fastest during practice this morning. Are you going to make up a couple miles an hour as it cools down later this evening?
I hope so. Actually, Richard drew that number, so I got to hand it to him for that. But, yeah, hopefully when it gets cooler, we can go a little bit faster. I just hope we can get it all in. I feel like I'm getting an ulcer just standing around waiting.
Now, let me ask you something else about next year. A lot of rumors circulating. Kyle might be leaving. Sabco coming back home to race for the King. But have you and Richard sat down and talked about next year yet?
We haven't talked about next year. We figured we want to get through this weekend in Watkins Glen and maybe one or two others before we really sit down and discuss what we're going to do for next year.
All right, thank you very much, Wally. Of course, Wally had a great 8th place finish at Talladega a couple of weeks ago. He's sitting here patiently waiting.
And Morgan Shepherd is not waiting. He is on the racetrack. In 1965 at the Indianapolis 500, the Wood brothers came to make the pit stops for Jim Clark, and the Scotsman went on to win the Indianapolis 500. Now all of their attention is on the Wood brothers Ford number 21 that is driven by Morgan Shepherd, and the green flag flies. We might tell you that Doug George, another Winston West competitor, qualified at 155.457.
Let's see what Morgan is doing. He's a little bit slower down the straightaway and a little bit slower in the corner as well.
Yep, don't know if the sun has been peeking out a little bit. Right now, it's pretty much overcast on most part of the racetrack, but there you see he's only 2 miles an hour over there on turn 2 slower.
The same speed at the end of the back straightaway.
Oh, that's 7 miles an hour off there.
Wow. So this probably will not, well, it definitely will not knock Rick Mast off the pole. Let's see what Morgan Shepherd can turn in for a qualifying effort.
Going to be about 4th fastest in my opinion.
It's 53.039, 169.687. Here's Jerry Punch.
Well, Rusty Wallace, you ran 169.683. Not exactly what you had hoped to do.
Well, I'd like to be a little quicker, no doubt about that, but I just had the car too loose. I wanted to make that front end stick really good, try to bring the speed up, and I went out, and that rear end was just hanging out on me. So, I just have to hope that's going to be good enough to lock up the first 20 in qualifying, and if it's not, we won't do anything different anyway. We'll just kind of bump the spoiler up and get it ready to race and be okay.
Rusty Wallace, Roger Penske and racing team as they get ready to push the car back to the garage area. Disappointed, but hey, waiting till Saturday.
We've got about 20 more minutes of qualifying left here on ESPN, and A.J. Foyt is standing by to go out for his run. Back in a moment. We're covering live for you qualifying for the inaugural Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Our Suzuki motorcycle top qualifiers indicate that Rick Mast is on the pole at the moment with a speed of 172.4. Dale Earnhardt is next. Brett Bodine is third, and Morgan Shepherd is fourth fastest at the moment. We will be right back here tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern Time with an hour coverage of second day qualifying for this historic event at this historic facility. Bob Jenkins, Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, Gary Gerald, Jerry Punch, and John Kernan back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for qualifying for the Brickyard 400. There's Kyle Petty, who waits to go onto the track. He watches his teammate Bobby Hamilton take the green flag and begin his run. Now, we have had a couple of qualifiers here in the last few minutes. Ben Hess at 158.081 and Jimmy Hensley at 167.826.
Hess ended up 16th, and Hensley right now is 9th spot.
Bobby Hamilton wants to get a good qualifying run here, Bob, because he has exhausted his provisional spots up to this point. So he would not have one. He's in the top 35 in the point standings, but he would not have a spot because he has already used the 4 that were eligible to him up to this year, up to this point of this year.
His best qualifying effort for 1994 was at Dover in June, where he qualified in 8th position. Here he comes off of corner number 4, looking for the checkered flag. And Bobby Hamilton completes his qualification run. Next out will be Kyle Petty. We'll wait to see how Bobby Hamilton does.
Well, it won't be the pole. It's not a bad run for him.
Here it is, 53.694, 167.616. And now onto the racetrack, Kyle Petty in the mellow yellow Pontiac. One of those drivers, Pontiac. One of those drivers who came here to test at the Speedway and was very excited about participating in this event and running at this facility. Kyle Petty. He was the 4th fastest in practice today. Qualified, and so now we begin to bump the slower qualifiers out of the top 20 speeds.
And Kyle Petty is off and running. Right now his teammate Bobby Hamilton is in the 10th spot. That qualifying effort he made just a moment ago. And H.B. Bailey, the first car that qualified this afternoon, is the car on the hot seat. Let's see how Kyle's doing through the traps.
Not very good compared with Rick Mast.
No, he's about 6 miles an hour off. In fact, 8 miles an hour on that last. Let's see how he does here on the straightaway on the back. 5 miles an hour off there. So,
wow, looks like Kyle's in trouble.
Well, one thing that will slow those straightaway speeds.
He missed that corner totally, Ned.
It looked like it, didn't it?
And we can see he's 9 miles an hour off. Yes, he missed that corner up there almost completely.
No, not a good lap for Kyle. Not a good lap at all. He's going to be way down the line.
54.140 and a very disappointing 166 mile an hour run for Kyle Petty. We'll take another break and be right back with more qualifying at Indy. One of the many changes that were made here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway when the stock cars were lined up for the Brickyard 400, they built a new scoring pylon. You can see there at the bottom that there are 2 blanks, and that's where 34, 5, 6, 7, 8 down to the 44th position in stock car racing will be indicated on the scoring pylon. Now, the Suzuki Motorcycles top qualifiers. Again, Rick Mast continues to hold on to the pole. Dale Earnhardt second, Brett Bodine and Morgan Shepherd are the 3rd and 4th fastest qualifiers at the moment. Gary Bettenhausen just qualified at 164.962 miles an hour. Gary one of those who has, of course, driven Indy cars here many times. Here's Jerry Punch.
Kyle, after being the 4th quickest this morning in practice, a disappointing run for you. 54.140 seconds. Look, you had your hands full.
Yeah, I wrecked in every corner. I don't know what's wrong with it. We run pretty good right off the bat, and then we just got away from it, and we just hadn't got back, so try again.
Close call up there coming in 3 and 4. He said it almost didn't look like you weren't going to be able to hang on.
I got the 2 over here, and I was sideways in the corner, and I got the 3, and it wouldn't turn. Or got the 4, and it wouldn't turn, so I don't know.
The people who run here every week said the clouds had gone away, the sun came out. They said Kyle's in trouble ever before you even went out. Do you think the weather has that much of an effect?
No, as far off as we are, the weather's not going to help you.
Kyle Petty, obviously disappointed.
And another Hoosier driver, Jeff Burton, is on the racetrack. And the pole sitter, by the way, Rick Mast, is on Hoosiers. We might also tell you that although we will be leaving the air here in less than 10 minutes, we'll catch you up on how things went here as far as the other qualifiers are concerned on Speed Week tonight. We'll do it live from Indianapolis Raceway Park at 7:30 Eastern Time, preceding our coverage of Thursday's Thunder, which features the Silver Crown cars from USAC tonight.
And you can see that Burton is way off Rick Mast's time as well. 4 or 5 miles an hour. And Gary Bettenhausen's time, Bob, was good enough for 16th.
And this will get Jeff Burton in the top 20 at the moment. I got him about a 53.40. He's a 53.358, 168.672 miles an hour. Good enough for 8th fastest at the moment.
And look who is strapping in and getting the gloves on. A.J. Foyt, who retired from IndyCar competition, he says, a few years ago. But he said he never retired from stock car racing, so he's going to try to make the field. And a man who is going to call it quits at the end of the 1994 season is Harry Gant, driver of the Skull Bandit number 33. Harry Gant, the oldest stock car driver to win a race in NASCAR Winston Cup competition, will now try to crown his career with a good qualifying effort for the inaugural Brickyard 400.
And Jeff Burton's speed was good enough for 8th spot. Put the 8th car in 8th spot right now.
Harry Gant has won 16 pole positions in his illustrious career. His last pole was at Atlanta in November of 1993.
He's another of those drivers running the Hoosier tires, Bob. Had an awfully strong run going at Pocono, Pennsylvania a few weeks ago until had an overheating problem.
See how he's doing. Well, he too is well off the pace set by Rick Mast.
Oh yeah, he's 8 to 9 miles an hour off. Now when he gets on the end of the other long straightaway back there, he's only 3 miles an hour off. But his speeds on those short turns is off.
Doyle Ford waves the checkered flag, and Harry Gant has completed his run.
Well, I got him about a 53.80 on my unofficial watch here.
See how good you are. Well, not bad. 53.921. A 166 mile an hour lap for Harry Gant. Jerry Punch, down to you.
Well, Bob, Harry Gant struggled this morning with an engine problem. They had borrowed an engine from Rick Hendrick Motorsports. They put in to qualify. They went out and ran about 5 or 6 laps. Harry said they were going by him like he had put an anchor out the window. So they came in and rapidly changed and put one of their engines in the race car. Remember, Leo Jackson owns that car and builds the motors. His brother, Richard Jackson, owns the car that's on the pole right now for Rick Mast. But it didn't help Harry Gant. His time still awfully slow here in qualifying as AJ heads on the racetrack, Bob.
Harry Gant's speed was good enough for 14th. And here comes AJ.
And he has 9 career pole positions. His last career pole was at Talladega in May of 1977. Let's see how A.J. Foyt does.
The fans love it.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you what, I really would like to see A.J. run well here this weekend.
Well, it would certainly bring a lot of cheers from the grandstand, especially on Saturday when he's announced as one of the starters, because he has been the man here at this facility since 1958, his rookie year.
Oh, quite a bit in this short straightaway over there, almost 10 miles an hour, and then 5 miles an hour coming off of turn 2.
Rick Mast turned in a 179 at the end of the backstretch. AJ a 177, not too bad. Let's see how he does here in the short chute at the north end of the track. 165 was Mast's trap speed through there. 157 for AJ. He's off the corner and onto the straightaway, looking for the checkered flag.
Well, he's still going to be 6-7 miles an hour off, probably 4 or 5 all the way around the racetrack.
Well, he's at about the time that the car before qualified.
59-year-old A.J. Foyt turns in a 53.928, 166.889.
That's almost exactly the same time that Harry Gant ran.
Yeah, just a shade slower.
And Jerry Punch is with Harry Gant.
And Harry still sits in the car. Harry, you ran a little over 166, but that's what you had struggled all morning, hadn't you?
Yeah, we've been a little slow. We got to pick it up some, you know, and we've done a lot of changes. We didn't get a chance to really go back at it. It rained, so we'll try to see what we've done tomorrow. We'll try to do better.
Car comfortable to you?
Yeah, not really. We got some work to do.
Harry Gant smiling his first and final time at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Bob?
And Ernie Irvin, the current NASCAR Winston Cup points leader, is on the racetrack. There is Robert Yates.
Don't know how much of a difference it might make, Bob, but the sun has gone behind the cloud here right now. I guess the cloud has come over the sun. The sun didn't move that much, but don't know how much it might help him.
Ernie Irvin turned in a 170.206 mile an hour lap in practice. Here's Gary Gerald.
We just checked with Robert Yates, and he looked up and saw that cloud over the track, and he says this may help. The temperature had actually been over 100 degrees at about 105, the hottest we'd seen today just not more than 3 minutes ago. Now it's dropped back down under 100 with this cloud cover. We'll see if it makes a difference on the clock.
It very well could. His speed at the end of the front stretch, Benny, was better than Rick Mast.
But look, he lost time up in the middle of the corner in the short chute and coming off turn 2, and he's the same at the end of the straightaway. So it's going to be a good qualifying run, but I don't think he's going to beat Rick Mast.
Oh, he was way off the pace there in the short chute. Off the corner, here he comes, Ernie Irvin, 161 off of turn number 4. Irvin completes the lap. He's looking for a 172.414. He's not going to get it, Ned?
Nope, he's not going to get it. He's going to be quite a bit off the pace, as a matter of fact, Bob. He's going to be back about 6th or 7th.
Yep, 53.112, 169.453. So Ernie Irvin has qualified, but will not be on the pole. We'll be right back. ESPN Speed World presentation of Brickyard 400 qualifying being brought to you by AC Delco Automotive Parts. AC Delco, it's like buying time. And by Chevrolet. One car company has won more races in the history of NASCAR. Genuine Chevrolet. Back with more from Indianapolis in a moment. ESPN Speed World covering Brickyard 400 qualifying. Jeff Purvis has clocked in at 167.917. We're going a little over 5 o'clock Eastern, but we want to show you the qualifying run of Michael Waltrip. Now, let me remind you that at 7:30 Eastern tonight, we'll be back with Speed Week live from Indianapolis Raceway Park and wrap up what happened in qualifying. And that just precedes Thursday Thunder featuring the USAC Silver Crown cars. And tomorrow we'll be on the air at 4 o'clock Eastern with an hour of second-day coverage. Benny?
Here comes Michael Waltrip up turn 4. Here's the top 20s I can give you so far. Rick Mast, Dale Earnhardt, Brett Bodine, Morgan Shepherd, Rusty Wallace, the top 5 as he takes the checkered flag.
Michael Waltrip.
Pretty good lap, Bob. That might put him up in about 5th place. Let's see.
Oh, Michael Waltrip with a good run then. Let's see how it shakes out here. 53.070, 169.587. Here's Jerry Punch.
Current Winston Cup point leader Ernie Irvin. You watch Michael Waltrip, his qualifying efforts. You were disappointed, obviously.
Yeah, you know, we ran really good and just didn't get to make a qualifying run and got the car too loose and sideways down in 1 and then sideways down in 2. So I guess we'll have to be happy with what we got.
You think some of the guys are really trying too hard, just a lot of emotion for the day?
Well, I mean, it's exciting. You know, this is what we've been waiting for 2 years. And, you know, at Daytona, where our biggest race happens, the driver can't do much in qualifying. Here he can make up something. So that's probably me. I probably tried to drive her in there a little deeper and get on her a little earlier, but it didn't work today.
Ernie Irvin a little loose in qualifying, currently 9th overall.
Tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, an hour of coverage of Brickyard 400 qualifying right back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. The weather still doesn't look very good, but they're qualifying. It's Mast, Earnhardt, Brett Bodine, Morgan Shepherd, the top 4. And then Rusty Wallace, Dale Jarrett, Michael Waltrip, and Dave Marcus, the fastest 8.
Ernie Urban and Jeff Burton round out the top 10.
And 4, Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, Gary Gerald, Jerry Punch, and John Kernan. This is Bob Jenkins. Thanks for joining us from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. See you tonight. So long, everyone.